Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriend the Gold podcast YouTube channel. We are back, still in season 16 of Married at First Sight, but we're almost at the end. So, reunion part one is what we're reviewing today. Before we do that, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. As usual, please comment what your thoughts were on this reunion. Okay, let's start off with who we thought was best dressed.
hmm
So, best dressed woman for you was
I'm gonna go with Jasmine. The
say,
color, the look, the fit of the dress. She looked amazing. Hair, makeup, the
yeah,
whole look
that
was
texture. And
was
I
on
think she
point.
might have gotten some dental work done. I saw like Twitter
hmm
was talking about that, but yeah, so that's also mine. And then the second would be, I don't know, maybe Kirsten for me. Cause like,
Yeah, Kirsten, yeah, or Gina. I liked her dress
oh,
too.
okay, I was
I
gonna say
liked
also
the
Nicole.
color of Kirsten's dress. I wish the fit was a little different.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Okay. Men, I don't know, they all look okay.
Shaq stands out the most.
He stands out the most. Yeah,
Yeah.
they could have coordinated maybe a little bit better. Like I didn't like the bright and bright with him and Kristen,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
whatever. All right. So now into the couples. Nicole and Chris, just so we can get them out of the way, I'm thinking, because there
hmm
was little new information that they provided.
Yeah, they're the
Any
it couple.
child, they were a little bit boring, but maybe boring is good because they are together and okay.
Yeah, maybe we're the ones addicted to the drama.
Right. Like, are we the problem? But okay, so I said that she had a gorgeous dress on.
She did. That
Um,
pink color again. She knows her
yes,
color.
she knows. She knows. So in the beginning when they had everybody out there, Nicole was saying, "Well, now I know how it feels when people are in your business and you don't want them to be," because she was always in everybody's business and they were talking about how like the audience has received them, how people are
Mhm.
receiving them in public, when they're out and about. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
um
The only thing that I wrote down is that it seems like Chris's friends and family all perceive him to be this pushover, but
yeah,
I have not gotten that vibe from him.
yeah,
He seems to push back when he needs to, and he seems balanced. So I don't know where the disconnect is, but I like how she said that the reason why she was pushing him
yes, I wrote
to
that too.
speak up was because of what the friends and family were saying. And this is why you have to be careful with who you bring on a show like this. Even in real life, when your friends and family start giving advice to your new spouse or partner,
Right,
they may be setting you up to have issues unknowingly in just how
right.
they describe you and your previous experiences.
Yeah, because you know how I am with you. You don't know how I am with a significant other. So, or you don't know what lessons I might have learned from previous situations. And so
Mhm.
you've already decided or you've already portrayed me a certain way to this person. And now for 8 weeks, Nicole spent her time trying to fight against whatever they had told her. So yeah, I appreciated that she said that too.
Mhm.
And then they talked about how on any given day, she has her little angry moments. And he said that it's been an adjustment, which was expected. But I'm glad to see that
Mhm.
they're doing okay and, they're
Yeah.
looking for future plans. The kids thing, they do have to get on the same page about, but, they're going to give it a year and see because she said, oh, then we'll decide if we want to have kids. And then he's like, I think we've decided which
The
one.
one who not carrying the baby.
Right, the one who's not carrying. Yeah, so that was it for them. Do you want to move on to
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm not as worried about the kids thing with
okay.
them because she did say she was open. So
Mhm.
the way I see it is maybe a worst case scenario. They have one, and
Not
that's
two.
kind of like the meeting in the middle. And he's also speaking about the experience of having children, not having them himself. And
Yes.
there may be room on his side to be more flexible than he thinks until he has
Mm,
one. So
very good. Yeah. All right,
yeah.
Clint and Gina.
Yeah. Let's
So
see.
I think the most that I have on them was that they asked about the business And
Again.
she talked about that there were a lot of curveballs being thrown at her in that time. So she felt like she's not normally this way, where it's all about her business, but because she had several like, curveballs being thrown at her. Like I understand the losing 100K with the build out thing. I understand the employee who seemed like one of her core employees quitting on her without notice, or I understand those things and that they can affect her. I think those were in addition to her not being willing to work with Clint though, you know?
Yeah, and she described the experience as being a pleasant distraction later on in their segment, which,
Yeah.
I get what she was saying, but it just didn't sound well
Mhm.
when she said it.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, I think the point that Kevin was trying to get to is it's not just like, oh, this is a stressful time at work. You're taking on something that's brand new. So she's always been this salon owner, but this build out experience is new. Even when people build new houses, that's stressful, let alone a commercial space. So
Right.
I think the point he was trying to get to is that this is a stressful process on top of you having a very stressful
That's what.
process in your personal life. So
Yeah.
the timing wasn't the best for her to have signed up for something like this.
But you know what's interesting though? I feel like when people just in general are ready for love, they feel like love is going to be this thing that makes everything else okay. Like yes,
Mm,
I have all of this going on with me, but if I have that love where I'm not feeling lonely anymore, I have somebody to come home. Like it's a bit of a cushion for all the
mhm.
other hard things. Like if this could be easy, if the love thing could be easy, then I can really handle all the hard things. So I don't know that I would say, oh, well, you were going through a hard time. This isn't the time to get a relationship, especially considering her age. But I just, I think maybe she just wanted a soft place to land while
I
going through
think
hard things.
Clint could have been that. He seemed
For sure.
open to it,
Yeah.
but I think she had more walls up,
Mm.
especially initially, than he did. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she acknowledged that she wasn't picking up what he was putting down. I think when they were talking about him being vulnerable or trying to be vulnerable.
Did you hear about how she was like, yeah, when he would say something small and, I wouldn't pick it up, he kind of looked like,
Right.
oh, like
Eh,
me sharing vulnerable things about my childhood. Why would you describe that as
That's
small?
small.
Like you said early on, I just think that she's unaware of how she comes off.
She is so unaware of herself. It would be funny if Clint hadn't gotten burned by it. um,
Listen,
okay, so that's why they tried to bring up the whole slender thing, and I like how Clint handled it. Like, hey,
yeah,
I was just trying to say we're not each other's types, and I definitely wasn't trying to body shame. So we know
yeah.
Clint.
He kept saying like, "Oh, we tried." I felt even with him saying that he was
Mhm.
being giving her grace,
Very much so.
like saying we when really it was
It was
her.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing much, in my opinion, came out of the all the girls sitting together.
Oh, one other thing is
Uh-huh.
this whole thing about them maybe circling back around.
Oh, girl.
Clint already got a new woman, and what I don't understand is he kind of threw the ball back in her court because I
Mhm.
think Clint would always be down, but for her, she's like, "Oh, well, I don't know, girl, no, stand firm. You didn't
Right.
try, so just say no. I think this chapter's come to a close."
Yeah, absolutely.
I
And now
don't
they don't
understand
live
why
in the
she
same
could.
apartments anymore or the same
Yeah.
condo or wherever they live. So they don't have any excuses. They didn't ask about Hank, did they? Or did I miss that?
No, they did not.
Okay, cool.
He
Uh,
with his mama. That's it.
right. I didn't get much from the ladies' time sitting down. I actually hate when they do that. Like, okay, so the
Oh,
ladies like each other, they're friendly, great to know, but we're not here for the friendships. We're here to see the reunion for the couples and find out where they
mhm.
are and maybe hear from the experts, maybe. So I could have done without it. I can do without it every reunion and give us only one episode for the reunion.
Yeah, the only thing that I wrote down is that Nicole is the counselor, and I wasn't here for the advice she was giving Kirsten and just like really pushing
For Shaq.
for Shaq. oh, when you just feel it, girl.
Right, but you felt it. The people in it aren't feeling it, and they would be the ones who would have to do the relationship part of this.
See, this is
So
why you got to be careful with who you get advice from, because they can have you circling back on something that needs to be dead.
yeah, I
So
agree.
that was
And
all I
then
had on
when
that.
she was like, someone like Shaq, in what ways? Because,
They could never seem to get on the same page. So what were you seeing,
that we
Nicole,
were.
that
Yeah.
we weren't?
So, okay. I'm glad that they showed us Shaq and Kirsten this episode, though. I thought they were going to make us wait until next week, and I would have been annoyed.
I think everyone's annoyed at this point.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's move on to Jasmine and Airris. Or do you want to do
Yeah.
Shaq and Kirsten?
Let's do Jasmine and Airris. Yeah.
Okay. So I have some interesting things on them.
Okay.
Okay. So they talked about Felina, the cousin. And I am so glad that they did, because the clip that they hadn't shown us before, where Eris was saying, "Oh, I feel like you're just intimidated by her," but Felina was intentionally trying to be intimidating. So one, I don't think Jasmine was intimidated by her. I think she was just like, she clearly doesn't see it for me. I don't really see it
Mhm.
for her either. I was trying to give it a chance because that's your family, but I'm not really, I don't want her around me. And so that ticked me off, that he was like, well, I just feel like you're intimidated by someone who's trying to bully you.
And what doesn't make sense is even from the scenes that they had leading up to the wedding, she was already coming with the smoke.
Yeah.
So the way he was presenting to Jasmine was like, oh, I don't know how bad it is. And maybe it's not that bad, or you're just afraid. No,
Yeah.
Felina was giving you the smoke and how she wasn't here for this whole process. So
Yeah.
as a man preparing to be married at 40 years old, why would you, family or not, why would you even want her to be within the space of the
Yeah.
marriage and the process, knowing how she's not supportive of it? Like that made no sense to me. And that showed me that maybe you just really aren't invested in making a marriage work because you're willing to bring someone so close so early on who's not supportive. You couldn't have found any other cousin that could have come on there and been supportive.
Girl.
Not one. Not
Yeah.
an auntie, not an uncle, not a best friend.
His mom, but that was like it. But yeah.
Anybody who wasn't bringing the smoke. And
Mm-hmm.
as a new bride, realistically, if she had pushed back, because she didn't know him,
Yeah.
and what their dynamics were. Imagine she had bucked up at Felina and it became a whole thing. For some men, they'd be like, oh, this is a wrap. You're not going to be talking to my family like that, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what they did or said. So she
Yeah.
could have set herself up for failure regardless.
And he said something like, well, I like people who hold their own. She was, by saying, I don't want her in my space. So it's like, what, maybe he expected more aggression with it,
For
but
her to be disrespectful.
right, but saying like he wanted them to fight over him. Like what exactly was he expecting? And because it's Eris, I don't put that past him.
Mhm.
But it's like there's a very like tactful way of holding your own, and that's saying, let's not invite her to the housewarming. Don't bring her around me. I don't like her energy. And Jasmine did that. So this whole, and just because you're used to her acting that way and being a bully and stating her opinions or whatever, that you've known her since you were, what, 4 months old. Jasmine just met her a few days ago, and she's coming with that energy, so you cannot expect. And so I think he was being very short-sighted and expecting too much of Jasmine. She already got to put up with you.
That, and she would have only known him for one day. So after
Yeah.
one day, would you realistically be going toe to toe with someone else's cousin?
Family,
That
right?
I don't even know you enough to even know if it's worth it
Yeah.
going back and forth with this girl.
And then Mac was like, oh, Eris seemed conflicted. He didn't seem conflicted to me. He seemed like he was standing 10 toes down on his cousin's side and saying, well, you're intimidated by her and I like somebody to hold their own. So I like that, Jasmine. So respectfully. Like, this woman is like, she should teach a class in being classy.
I
And
know.
she's like, so don't try to defend it, like he should have had my back. And
Mhm.
he should have, but of course he was not ready for marriage. And we saw that again with several of the comments that he made. Um, the next thing I have is that I hate the questioning about around why Airris doesn't have attraction to her. Like, stop putting Jasmine through that.
Yeah, and Kevin kept asking, "Well, why didn't it work? Why didn't it work?"
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, well, out of respect for her, myself, and I don't want to put her down or I don't want to get chewed out too much. I'm just not going to say." You still sound terrible.
Right, right. Because they're like, oh well, her body type is in between these two. I just wanted them to drop it. I wanted them to drop it a long time ago. It was exhausting seeing it during the season. It's exhausting belaboring the point during the reunion too. So I'm just like, stop putting her through that. Like, she's past that point. Stop it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I very much hated that. And what
It
was
was
it?
just awkward because what
Yeah.
did he say? Oh, we talked about it behind the scenes and
Mhm.
she's just sitting there.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what is this?
So two things. One was, they talked about him sleeping with the friend, and they're like, Jasmine, how do you feel about him doing that? When he was in the process. And she said, well, did we prepare for this differently? Absolutely. Like, she's been prepared to be a wife and doing the things. And there's like a difference between someone who just up and decided one day to try out for a show like Airris, and someone who's like intentional about what they want for their life and sees this show as a means to that end. And you could clearly see it with Jasmine and Airris. So,
Yeah, I don't know how Eris made it past the experts. Actually, I do know how, but
by lying,
yeah.
because nobody's surprised that he wants an open marriage. Like, I wasn't surprised that he
And
said
he was like,
that.
"Oh, I was joking." Really?
Sure,
Mr. I participate in orgies?
he was only joking because people were looking at him funny for saying it. Like, if she would have been like, "Oh, I'm down for it," it wouldn't have been a joke then. And then he's like, maybe in like 20 years, sir, you are
Yep.
40.
When you're
Like, not that 40
60?
is old, but it's just like, if that's something you want in 20 years, it's probably something you want now.
Yeah, when you're still young.
Yeah, let's be for real. I love how Jasmine was saying, like, with Eris, if he gives you three sentences, he probably should have kept two of them. And that's exactly right. Like, but who wants a man like that who is loose at the lips and just says any little
Mm-mm.
thing? Anyway,
Embarrassing.
what did you feel about friend boy?
I mean, I'm glad she kept him private.
Yeah.
Um, it seems like this is someone that she's talked to in the past.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know what the backstory is on why it didn't work before. Maybe they were just young,
Mm.
but I don't know. Even if she's just having fun, I'm happy for her. If she's happy right now, I'm fine with it. After this exhaustive process with him,
Hmm.
girl, have your fun.
I hope it works out for her, because like, this isn't just a thing where, oh, I'm out of this relationship now, we're jumping into the next one. This is a situation where I prepared for a marriage. I don't know what the past 8 weeks, I don't know what this was, but she's still that same person who had prepared prior to. That's a lot of PRs. But prepared prior to the show. And so I don't see a problem with it. I don't think it's too fast. I just hope that
Yeah.
he treats her right, because she deserves. She said, "Friend boy is now my man." I said, "Okay, sir.
Okay, girl.
Okay."
Mm.
I think that's all that I had on them. There was a comment about Jasmine and Gil, and
Oh,
they think they're
yeah.
the
At the
perfect. I don't know.
beginning.
Do you remember Gil?
I didn't watch that season, but I've
Okay.
watched some of the follow-up videos about him and Merla. Yeah.
Okay. So
Or
Gil,
Viola. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Was that
yeah, it
right?
was
Okay.
Merla,
Merla. Okay.
Mirla. Yeah, it's been so long since that season. But but Gil is a nice guy. I don't see him for Jasmine though. Like, I would have never seen it. They're both nice people, but together, I don't know. I think he might be. Well, I guess she's 32, so he's probably with 38 or something right now.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't see it really.
Yeah.
Both
I heard
nice.
that him and Mac were connected, but he kind of respectfully told her, like, yeah, I'll see you when I see you.
Dom.
or Dom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of them two.
Um, we haven't seen much about them, but I just want to say, like, Mac moving back to Michigan, it's just so funny to me because you
We
were
knew you
not
were.
set on on Tennessee,
And
sir.
how did he make it past the experts? Once again, why are y'all picking people who are transient?
Right. Right.
Like,
And is his business even legal in Tennessee?
I don't think so. I think the only place in the South where it's legal is Florida.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So,
Anyway, so I guess we'll talk about them next week. But
yeah.
Kirsten and Shaquille.
Shaquille.
So I guess they keep in touch. Some at some level, even though he moved. Uh,
Yeah.
she was upset by his decision and them not
Yeah.
talking about it. Understandably so, especially after she came around, you know, earlier in the season. I felt like he was the one who dropped the ball in the end. And I felt like she was prepared to be a wife that he needed.
Yeah, I definitely think so. She mentioned, hey, I was cooking, cleaning, doing all the wifely things,
Yeah.
domestic things, showing you like I care and I'm invested in your overall well-being.
Helping with his homework, she said, like making sure his
Yeah.
assignments were turned in.
So what I didn't understand though is later in the episode, she mentioned that going into decision day, though, she was uncertain. She said that she didn't know which way he was going to go. So not to say that she shouldn't have been upset, but I would have thought as upset as she was that she would have thought that he was a confident yes.
Hmm.
So yeah, she said like I was uncertain until he said his answer.
Yeah, she did say that, but I feel like one of the things that she might have been very upset about because she mentioned it was that they didn't talk about it because like he didn't
Oh,
want to
okay.
express. And so I think that would have probably made me because all the things that he was saying on the stage,
Mm-hmm.
hey, if you would have said that before decision day, maybe we could have worked
He was
through
still
those
talking about the
things.
whole support thing, support. So I'm like, if you say support one more
One more
time,
time.
Lord have
Take a
mercy.
drink every time he says support. But she checked on him. And this is what okay, this is a moment that I like. She was like when his grandma died, she checked on him, sent her condolences and all of that stuff. And it had her thinking like, what made him say I wasn't supportive? Like I actually was. And I
Mm-hmm.
love when people are able to reflect back and see, no, I was actually doing the things that I was supposed to do or the things that were expected of me, and you were the problem. Because I think it takes
Mm-hmm.
people a long time to get to that
Mm-hmm.
point where, they feel like, oh, what was it my fault? Did I not do enough? Did I? But I think with the exception of that trip, which how many times could she have apologized for it? I don't know. I think she did what needed to be done in the
But
support department.
but then he also gave mixed answers. He says it's support, and then he says, he didn't feel like he would be good enough.
And that's the thing. When someone says they don't think they're good enough for you, they're telling you they're not good enough for you. So that should be your answer.
Didn't know if he could be the husband that she needed.
So he
But
couldn't.
she also said that she questioned, his lack of interest. And he's like, no, I wanted to be married to you. But even we saw the lack of interest as the season progressed.
Girl, towards the end, when Kirsten just started saying what she wanted to say, she was like, Shaquille didn't want to be married.
She kept it cute until she couldn't no more.
He didn't want to be married. She said, do not be saying you want to be married to me like after the fact and that you want to be together. No, you don't want to be married. And saying this thing that, oh, I just feel like we didn't have enough time, which I understand. His schedule was already intense. And
Mm-hmm.
then I've heard from previous seasons people say the filming schedule is really intense. So I could only imagine how little time they had. And so it's making sense to me why she wanted to have those like deep, long conversations in the night because they hadn't been spending much time together. But I can also understand, like, why he was tired after all of that. But he talks about needing more time, and Kevin's like, you needed more time because you could have had more time. Yes,
But did he need more time? Because what did he say? He says, I wanted to fall in love, but I didn't know how. So he says that he's back in therapy. This thing is multi-level. It's a lot going on. It's
yeah.
stuff wrong with her, the lack of support, but we think she's been supportive.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't feel good enough. Him also saying he didn't know how to be married. Like he's learning in this process. So
Okay, so nobody knows how to be married. Like, even people who think they know, I feel like don't know. But if you, I just wish he would have thought this through. If you know, like, oh, I don't really know how to be married, this is not the way to find it out. Like, an 8-week pressure cooker is not the way to find it out. And he said something about he felt like they were both working on things individually, but not together. And I could clearly see how that's an issue because it's like, you could be trying to be a great communicator and you could have all the tools as an
mhm.
individual to be a good communicator. But if the communication isn't hitting with the one person who you need it to hit with, like, you have to learn how to communicate specifically to that person for things to work. And he clearly didn't know how to communicate with her, and she clearly didn't figure out how to communicate with him. I just wish I wish he could be more clear about what this support looks like.
I don't think that I think it's support, but I think it's a lot of other things going on with
Mm,
him.
okay.
That's why no matter what she does in terms of support, it's not going to be enough. Even if they had stayed together, if they get back together, I think she's just going to be on a hamster wheel. It's never
Rem-
going to be enough.
Remember, I
Because,
said if they stay together, they need a therapist?
yeah, because then he also goes on to say, the process got the best of him.
Hmm.
A prophet called him and basically said, do what's best for you. So we also have that too. You listening to prophets. It's
And so I'm a religious person. So, like, I don't want to be like side eyeing a prophet. I would never do that. That's disrespectful. Um, it was a very vague thing to do. It was a vague word that the prophet gave. Um, and so I guess maybe he just internalized it how he needed to and kept it pushing.
but it's still not adding up because he then goes on to say he didn't know what his decision would be walking
Until he
up
sat
until
down.
he sat down on the couch.
It's not giving husband. It's not giving husband.
An entire struggle. I'm sorry. I'm glad you said no
I
because
am too.
how you not know until you sat down on the couch?
So how much thought did you give this? And you know what upset me? At a certain point, he said something about Kirsten just wanted it to be me and her. Like, she wanted me to lock in and just have it be like about Kirsten and Shaquille. And I felt like that wasn't support because I need to be around my family. I need to be about. I don't believe that for a second. Now, I do think there probably could have been some not friction, but they handle their families differently, clearly. Like, he's always around his, she, sees her family and they're okay with the frequency of their visit. So I think there could have been like an adjustment to that. But she has 8 weeks with you guaranteed. She is married to a stranger. If she wasn't trying to spend time with you,
Like he
that would be a problem. So yeah, I don't think there's a problem that she wants it to be about Kirsten and Shaquille within the 8 weeks that y'all were married.
Yeah,
That's
and
kind
I
of,
think
it's
it's a
almost like
red
that's the
flag.
point.
Yeah, it's a red flag that
Yeah.
you want to spend time doing other things instead of staying focused on the task at hand, especially since you're the one saying that you didn't know how to be married, but yet you're complaining that she wants to spend too much time together. It feels
Hmm.
like Kirsten wanted to get deeper with him
That's the thing.
and get more intimate in ways that weren't physical and getting to know him. And he was just going with the flow.
He knows something we don't about why he. So, like, yes, she had her walls up, but he knows why he doesn't want to get into those. Like, sometimes when you're trying to get deep with someone who doesn't want to address certain deep parts of themselves, they will shut it down because they're just not ready to go that far. They're not ready to deal with all the things that will come up. And
Mm.
so, yeah,
Then you're not, I don't want to say you're not ready to be married, but definitely not in a process like this. She has to try to get to know this person she's going to say yes to beyond
mhm.
8 weeks.
If he's interested in a relationship, that's what he needs, is like a relationship. Not a long distance one either. And stay with that therapist, boo. I think that's
Yeah.
what he needs to do. But yeah,
And don't answer that prophet.
and that's the thing. Like the message was so like it might be a time to make a decision for you. I
I
don't.
mean, that could have meant him saying yes. Like it could be interpreted so many ways. But like
Yeah.
she said, you said no. So
Yes. And I respect how she's like, he said no, we're cool. I hope she doesn't even look back his way. I hope she can find her a friend boy,
yeah.
because she's a beautiful woman. She's clearly ready. And I hope that this process taught her not to be so shut off and closed off at the beginning of a relationship.
Hmm.
So I think she'll be better without him. And there was one more thing. I thought it was beautiful to see them looking back and acknowledging some of their flaws. So her
Hmm.
saying that she watched herself and she had all those walls up, but you could kind of see her breaking down a little bit during the after party episodes where maybe she didn't realize that's how hard she was coming off. And he too was like, dang, I didn't even remember doing certain things.
Hmm.
And I can see how that felt. So it was beautiful to see them acknowledging their flaws. At the end of the day, all we can do is grow from these experiences. So
Yep.
that's all that I have on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, that's all we have. And I think next week is the last one.
The last reunion episode, but apparently they
Reunion.
have a Where Are They Now and other stuff that we won't be watching, but we will be figuring out other things to do with our YouTube channel. So just make sure you are subscribed. We will
Yeah.
be here. And then we're reviewing next season. So hey,
Yeah.
if you're tuned into the hot mess that next season will be, I'm sure we'll be tuned in as well. So
Yeah.
we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.